My name is Andy Bernstein, aka Abdominal or Abs, and I am here today because I wrote a rap song with my mom, which is kind of a funny, strange thing to do. But there are a lot of funny, strange stories out there, so why do I get the honor of telling mine to you today? In other words, what makes this a story of pioneering? Well, by definition, pioneering means going into uncharted territory. And if nothing else, this whole experience was definitely uncharted territory for both myself and also my mom. But I don't want to speak for her. Luckily, I don't have to. Fort Mac, you guys, you want to meet my rapping mom? Make some noise, y'all.
Hi, I'm Sharon Singer. I'm a former English teacher, editor, and librarian, and a longtime lover of words. I am also a newly minted rapper, albeit a senior one. It's taking a lot of courage for me to be here on this stage, but that's what started this whole journey. With Andy and I, we wrote a song together called Courage.
So we have to tell you first how the whole story unfolded. So first of all, why did we want to create the song together? So for me, it was two reasons. The first was I thought it would be fun, which I realize sounds trivial, but to me, fun is actually really important as far as influencing my musical decisions. You know, music is obviously a very broad, complex thing. It can mean so many different things, provide so many different things to so many different people. But for me, a big part of music is just the sense of play that's involved. And that's found even just in the language surrounding music. I mean, obviously, to listen to music, you have to play it. Similarly, to create music, again, you have to play it, often playing with other people. So it is my job at that sense of play, just having fun and connecting with other people on that level, whether it's the audiences I'm playing to or the musicians I'm playing with, is really important to me. Because I think as adults, especially in our society, we don't often get the chance to just play and have fun and be creative like we did when we were kids. So much the focus becomes just paying the bills and surviving and getting ahead, that I think we kind of lose that really beautiful concept of just playing and having fun and experimenting, trying new things, discovering new things. So to me, it's really important in my music to try to stay in touch with, I guess you could say, that inner child, and to try to inject some playfulness into the music. So basically, if a project doesn't seem like it's going to be fun, I probably don't want to invest a lot of my time into it. But luckily, the prospect of rapping with my mom did seem like it would be, you know, good times. So that was the first reason why I wanted to do it. The second was it was something new to try, something neither of us had attempted before. I've been doing this rapping thing for over 20 years now. I still love it, but like anything, especially any job, no matter how much you love it, inevitably, if you're doing the same thing over and over again, it starts to get a little bit stagnant. So it's important to me to always try to push myself to step out of my comfort zone and put myself into that uncharted territory and try new things like rapping with my mom. So those were my two reasons for wanting to do this. Thought it'd be fun, something new to tackle. As to why my mom agreed to this wacky scheme, I'll let her explain.
Well, it also seemed like a fun thing to do for me as well. When we actually sat down together to write the song, we started swapping memories, and I began digging up old pictures. So after much laughter and many stories, we realized that this was a rare opportunity that had been given to us at this time to look back at the past and to share our different perspectives on things and how things had impacted us. Also, since my retirement from teaching, I knew it was important for me to keep learning and doing new things. At first, I did what I was comfortable with, and I was moderating adult classes in creative writing. But then I knew, okay, it is time to do something totally different. And the key for me was to become comfortable with being uncomfortable when trying something new.
So now you know why we both wanted to do this. Now we'd like to tell you what we learned from the experience. But first, we just need to tell you sort of the chain of events that unfolded. So first of all, we got together, wrote the song together, went to my good buddy Bookworm's music studio to record it, where my mom knocked it out of the park, laid down her verses perfectly in one take, total natural. Then, why don't you tell me, we did a little video.
Then next up was a music video that they made of us with Andy and I clad in leather jackets sitting atop a vintage motorcycle.
I think we have an image from the video you can take a look at, hopefully.
Oh.
You'll notice she was driving and I was relegated to the sideline. So naturally, we released the video on Mother's Day, and we had a feeling we might get a little bit of media attention around it, but we had no idea what was about to ensue, which was suddenly all the major national media outlets in Canada, Globe and Mail, CBC, CTV, somehow caught wind of the story and started banging down my door looking for interviews with my mom and I.
Talk about overwhelming. And then the next step was that Andy asked if I would go on tour with him and his band down east. So it then became a family affair. My husband, Pierre, became the roadie, driving the van jam-packed full of musical instruments, Andy and me and the two other band members, Andrew and Alex. Whew, life on the road. Each day, a different place, each day a different experience, and me valiantly trying to remember the back and forth of my lyrics so I wouldn't embarrass my son.
You don't embarrass me. So what did we learn on this journey? For me, again, it was two things. The first was something about my music. It was something that I already kind of knew, but which the song helped confirm for me. And that is, the more I put myself into my music, the more personal and honest I make it, the more people seem to respond to it. Which seems like a totally obvious thing to say. But you have to understand that in the context of hip-hop culture, often the opposite is true. Because hip-hop or rap music, because it started off in a tough environment in the inner city, is often about masking your softer, more vulnerable sides, such as expressing the inspiration you may derive from your mom. You know, the hip-hop cliche, which definitely doesn't extend to all hip-hop music, but is still for sure pretty prevalent, is to always project this aura of machismo, to be the biggest, baddest dude on the block. But for me, I'm finding as I get older, more comfortable in my skin, less concerned with how others in my genre perceive me, I'm drawn more and more just to try to be as honest as I can be in my music. And again, I'm finding that people respond to that honesty. And this song with my mom was a perfect example. You know, it's pretty much the antithesis of street cred to rap with your mom. It was something I wanted to do, so we did it. And yeah, some hardcore rap fans were turned off by, I guess, the supposed sissiness of the whole thing. But at the same time, I received more positive emails and messages to my Facebook and Twitter accounts about this song than any other song I've released in my 20-plus year career. And I think that's an important part about pioneering, actually, is to have the courage to stick to your convictions and to follow your instincts, even if they lead you into that uncharted territory, uninhabited by and possibly even frowned upon by your peers, because really that's the only way that new territory is discovered. And the other thing that I learned from this experience was my mom is more than just a mom. Who knew? It was an interesting experience in that, as my mom said earlier, this role reversal happened where, because this was my area of expertise, by default I kind of became the parent in a sense and had to guide my mom through this process. So I think that shaking up of the typical mom-son dynamic helped my mom and I pioneer some new ground in our relationship, where we could suddenly see each other and respect each other more as peers and as adults than just as that sort of parent-child dynamic that had been in place my entire life up until this point.
Well, what I learned is often when I try new experiences, very quickly negative messages bubble up in my mind, like I'm not good enough, or maybe I should just quit. But this experience was obviously different because Andy was there. I could voice my fears, and I knew that he was there listening and lending support, and that really helped. So I guess what I learned is if you're feeling fear, put it out there. Take a deep breath or 1,000 deep breaths. Take the first step, because courage is not about the outcome, it's about the journey. And so that was a very important lesson for me.
So that's what we learned from this, but are there any lessons we can impart with you guys? you know, we're definitely not saying you guys should all rush out immediately following our presentation and record rap songs with your loved ones, although that would be super cool if you guys feel so inclined. But I think there are some more universal takeaways from this. The first being that fear is the main obstacle to pioneering. Fear of the unknown, fear of failure, fear of what other people may say or think. And of course, the antidote to that fear is courage. Finding the courage within yourself to face that unknown without focusing so much on outcome, as my mom said, or what other people may say or think, but more on just trying something new and what may end up potentially being this really rewarding experience, like what the song ended up being for my mom and I.
Well, also, I think there's something universal I learned about being a parent. At a certain age or stage, you can't tell your kids what to do anymore, even if you want to. So it's important to take a step back and to let our children begin to explore and learn for themselves. I know that music has been important to Andy, and we share this love of words, but I never could understand why he chose a career like music that's so uncertain and so unstructured. But when we actually sat down and wrote some words, wrote the song, got up and performed, and I could see the difference that it made to people, how people really responded to those words, it gave me an inner glimpse into a world I really was not familiar with. So I think that's important to know that we too can learn from our children and gain new insight. The other thing that I learned is society tends to think of people in their 20s and 30s really being faced with a lot of change, you know, looking at what schooling to take, what career should I follow, new relationships. But the most important thing for me is to realize that learning is lifelong. And the courage to keep learning is important, to put out your fears, to ask for help along the way and take that very first step. And as I said before, courage is about the journey. Enjoy your journey.
So, we're not done. We're not done. We could talk about this all day long, but really at a certain point you need to just let the music speak for itself. All right? So we were thinking maybe we'd give you guys a little live demo of the song we're talking about. Sound all right? Okay.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. All right, y'all. Fort McMurray, how you guys feeling? Make some noise. All right. All right. Dana Ray, if you could cue the music, please. So, this is called Courage. Abdominal obliques featuring my mom.
And my son.
It goes like this. Check it out. Bravery doesn't mean a lack of fear. True bravery is facing fear. So without fear, then there is no bravery. But when there's fear without bravery, that's slavery to fear, which is scary. Sorry, I digress. I guess using that logic would suggest that the most courageous amongst us must possess inordinate amounts of fear and stress, but yet still live life to its fullest. Meet my mother. Next to me, she's the biggest worrywart that you'll ever see. I mean, she gets scared by the sound of a sneeze, and the thought of being late brings shakes to her knees. But don't let that surface stuff fool ya, cause when it comes to true guts, my mom will school ya. First of all, just so you know, my mom's 67. Over the last few years, here's some stuff she's attempted. Kickboxing, weightlifting, capoeira, mountain climbing, belly dancing, ran marathons 4 times, 3 times to the Arctic to work with the Inuit. Then she walked to Guelph just to see if she could do it. So when I'm being interviewed, asked how did a Jewish kid from Canada ever think he could make it in rap music, I say that I pursued it because my mom influenced me to always walk the path that seemed the most true to me, no matter how daunting, unstable, and perfect. My mom was always there for me, exemplifying courage. I'm the son. We sat down to have some fun,
but little did we know
by the time we were done
that what would emerge
from this unprecedented merger
nothing short
of a dialogue of courage. She's my mom.
He's my son,
But when we sat across the table, pens in hand,
blank page,
we rose above those labels and were peers. Inspired by each other,
I see courage in my son.
And I see it in my mother.
Pencil and paper in his small hands, superheroes emerged, first took their stand. Captain Carrot, the boggler et al., the pictures of bravery when he was small. Later taking time off after high school, living in the real world, gathering tools. Canada world youth learning how to give, finding what it means to be human, how to live. Stepping outside what you already know, well, that's one way of making you grow. Coming back to Canada, going to school, doing what was expected and following the rules. Prepping for the 9-to-5 society expects.
Just doing it and doing it.
No time to reflect. Then somehow that voice keeps calling our name. My boy heard, he listened, and everything changed. With his hands in his heart, he once again drew from the world around what was politically askew. A cartoonist who, with strokes of black ink, made people laugh, then stop and think. It requires courage to keep listening to that voice, courage also to know you really have no choice. Then Andy turned your music to words and a beat, telling his life, making experience concrete. When he raps or sings about things that are real, it reaches, teaches others, and makes them feel. So when I see or hear Abs rap to a crowd, I listen, I smile.
I'm the son. We sat down and had some fun.
But little did we know,
by the time we were done,
that what would emerge
from this unprecedented merger
nothing short
of a dialogue on courage.
He's my son.
She's my mom. But when we sat across the table, pens in hand,
Blank page,
we rose above those labels and were peers. Inspired by each other.
I see courage in my son.
And I see it in my mother, y'all.
Thank you so much.